Welcome into the Rams post game show. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. And Gilbert, first half was it seemed like the Rams were sleepwalking, and then in the second half they woke up. At least the defense did, and kind of pretty much took over this game and they got away with the win here, and that's all you really want. There's Puka Nakua gets hurt, Blake Corum gets hurt in this game. So just what was your takeaway from this 17-3 victory over the Ravens by the Rams?
Yeah, it kind of went as expected. We both predicted a slow start and just win the game, get out and try to be as healthy as possible, get a victory, stop the bleeding. You're playing a bad Ravens team that has nobody on the field besides Derrick Henry, and they handled business before a trip to London. But you know, and I'll give them some credit because I think there was some positive. Like the kicking game was a problem, but better than the last couple weeks. That's progress, right? I know Cardi made a couple of field goals after the missed field goal. Um, there weren't issues, with Kyron Williams. I know there were some drops, but he had a nice bounce back game after what happened. Uh, and then to kind of get by to survive Puka Nakua, being hurt, he did come back and he wasn't really needed, but that was great. That's a positive right there. Not having your star quarterback was dealing, sorry, your star wide receiver was dealing with an ankle injury or foot. They keep changing it on the injury there.
Yeah.
To play the second half. Hey, take it easy. You've been great for 5 weeks, man. We got it. The defense stepped up. The quarterback, Matthew Stafford, was okay. But it was just a clunky game where, like, you can't be mad at the results. It was still 17-3. From that standpoint, they dominated. There are some points in the game where the Ravens were about to score. Jared Verse and gang stepped up. So from that standpoint, defensively, they were great. Areas of concern are still concerning, but they're better. And I think that's what you take away from this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. The defense just stepped up in this game, and I got to give a shout out to Nate Landman. I mean, that's why I put him all over this post game show. 17 tackles, one forced fumble, and he set the franchise record for tackles by a Rams player now. So, I mean, he's been great. I know that he got a little bit exposed in terms of his coverage last week against the 49ers, but when it came down to making sure that he tackled, and then that the peanut fumble again, I saw a great meme. I think it was just like someone just trying to hit, like trying to sock somebody, and that's been his thing this season. So, but he was all over the field. Quinn Lake, 6 tackles, 1 interception, and a fumble recovery. So this was all on the defense. We talked about them only having 1 sack last week against the 49ers. They come out and they have a bunch of sacks in this game, especially in the second half. And I thought the biggest key in this game, Gilbert, was that the goal line stand at the end of the first half. I thought,
Mhm.
like, the Ravens had 4 opportunities to score there, and the Rams defense held them, and they at that point, that's when you kind of knew the game was over, even though it was 3-3. They come out in the second half and they score a couple of touchdowns, but this was all on the defense. And we talked about it we've talked about it before the season. We've talked about it during the season. This defense is going to carry this team, and they're going to win. They're going to need to win some games for them because sometimes the offense isn't going to be there. I mean, you have Matthew Stafford going 17 of 26, 181, 1 touchdown. Kyron Williams, 13 carries, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. And the leading receiver for this game, if you would have told me it was going to be Tyler Higbee, I would have said you're crazy. It was Tyler Higbee, 4 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. And that's when the defense can do for you. It can carry you to a win, especially when your 2 receivers just don't have a good game. And so shout out to the defense.
Yeah, I don't know if people want to admit this, but it's kind of been the same formula for this team for a while now. Have a good defense and have an offense that's been up and down, very inconsistent. Well, besides Puka Nakua, he's always consistent. But
Yep.
you know, have Stafford bail you out every now and then. Have Puka Nakua carry the team. Have Puka Nakua set the table for everybody else. And it's just like it's rare when the offense is just clicking at the same time and just being dominant, and it just hasn't happened. Maybe that's just what it is when you have an aging quarterback. Uh, there's a lot of issues too when it comes to Sean McVay's game management, but for the last 2 plus years, and maybe even going back a little further, it's been the defense that steps up during ugly games, and you got to have a defense like that for the lows of the season because there's times where, I'll use the Cowboys for example. They go into Carolina, and the offense is doing well, but then the defense does nothing. And sometimes we're so one sided, it really fatigues one side. And I'm not trying to compare the Cowboys and the Rams here, but I think what the Rams have is like there's going to be some ugly games. There's going to be some boring games, no style points, and that's when defenses come through. That's why defenses help out in the winter months in November. That's for Thanksgiving, December, January, and then I think what makes the Rams dangerous, they have the pieces offensively too. You never know when they're going to break out. You never know when Stafford's going to go vintage. You never know when Nakua's going to dominate for 200 receiving yards. You never know when Devontae Adams is going to turn back the clock. So there's always that possibility, but you would like to see the offense do more. You would definitely like to see special teams do a little more here. But you're right, Vic. I'll shout out Nate Landman, and I'll ask you a bit the question about the record because I didn't know he had a record, but he was all over the field. He was in the backfield. He had the punch out there. I think he had a sack where Cooper Rush was trying to get the ball out, but he was already down.
That
Uh,
should have been a sack. Yeah, I'm with
you didn't
you.
get a sack there. What the hell was that?
No,
Tackle for
no,
loss?
they and McVay threw the challenge flag, and they said that he got the ball out. So
I thought
yeah,
that was it. I thought
yeah.
they
So
called
did
it that.
I.
Never mind.
Yeah,
But 17 tackles, is that the franchise record you're talking
yeah,
about, Vic? Because I had
yep.
no idea. That's credit to him. That's awesome. Uh, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Nate Landman. I've been trying to give him some love in my national stories at SI, but still, people don't really know the name there. I get it. He got exposed a little bit in coverage, but in terms of being downhill, old school linebacker, that's what this team needed. It adds another element to the defense. It's not all about pass rushers. With time, you got to get better secondary. I know Sean McVay has talked about getting some cornerback help. You didn't need that today. You didn't need to worry about Cooper Rush, who got benched. You didn't need to worry about that with Snoop Huntley, which I forgot that he was still on the Ravens. Maybe he came back for
He
the
was
fifth
on the
time.
practice squad and
Yeah,
got
okay.
elevated. Yeah,
Who
yeah,
who the hell knows? That's how bad it is for the Ravens. But
yeah.
ugly game. It gave me Tennessee Titans vibe, where it took them a half to wake up and they just did what they wanted. I know the Tennessee game they scored more points than that one, but again, no Puka Nakua, and it was a great game where they didn't need them because imagine they fell behind or they're in one score game. You needed Puka Nakua to move on that bad foot or ankle, whatever you want to call it. That would have been bad news right there. So to handle business, I think was a big deal.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and we talked about it. I thought the biggest thing was, look, you just want to get a win here. We knew they were going to probably play down to their competition with all the injuries that the Ravens had in this game, and so you just at the end of the day, you just want to come out with a win, especially when you know you're having to travel to London the following week, and so now you take care of business and you feel good about yourself. And I guess the only bad thing here, Gilbert, is you have Sean McVay who said that Puka Nakua has an ankle injury and he is uncertain if he will be able to play next week against the Jaguars. So you're going to need a lot of help going up against the Jaguars team that looks a bit more improved. We will see how they did not look good against the Seahawks today. I got like I told you during one of our preview shows that I just coming off of a Monday night game. It was going to be hard for them to be up in this game against the Seahawks, and sure enough, that's kind of what happened. So, and they're used to playing in London. I am very interested to see what happens with the Rams and how they play with that schedule. A West Coast team. We saw the Broncos today. They're not a West Coast team. They're a mountain team, but they struggle to kind of get used to playing in London as well.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna stop being the negative guy because I've been saying the same thing over and over again. I still haven't changed my mind on the Rams, and I'm gonna just say it like this subtly. Like what I just don't think the Rams are better than they were last year. Maybe they're worse. I just don't know. But again, like I said after the Thursday night football game, I'm gonna let it play out. Like they have
Yes,
time to figure it out. They have time to
I'm
fix
with
it.
you.
And for the most part, they tend to do this. They have like these, the last couple years have been since ever since 2023. When Kyrie Williams went down in 23, they fell behind. He comes back, they win a bunch of games. Same thing last year. They fell behind, 1-4 start. They come back and they go in waves. So, they still need secondary help. I think they need another help there for Nate Landman. I know it's only a one linebacker league now, but What if he goes down? You need to have more depth. I still worry about the offensive line. I still worry about the flow of the offense with Matthew Stafford and getting Devontae Adams involved. I worry about being too reliant on Puka Nakua. I worry about Sean McVay's game management. I think they're a playoff team, but they're not a given to win the NFC West, and they're not a given to go past the divisional round. It's just like I said earlier. There's always that element of like, what if? Like, look at the pieces; they look good. They just can't do it. So, they're handling business. You got to go through the season, and the Jaguar game is a tough one too. But other than that, like I haven't learned much about these Rams. They finally got some field goals off today. That's great. But the defense was good. It was lights out. But I'm not gonna think big picture here. I'm gonna wait to see what happens after the bye week. What happens when they have a big time showdown against the Detroit Lions, or I forget who else is coming up on the schedule. But there's plenty of time to sort these things out. So at this point, just take the W and look at the positives, because I think Kyron Williams having a bounce back game is good for the psyche. Everybody who just pretty much shot themselves in the foot 10 days ago to bounce back, that's good morale there before overseas game in London.
Yeah, I'm with you, and you just want to continue to win games right now, as we said, and then the NFC just seems like everybody's beating up on each other. Nobody's really, you just saw the Eagles just lose. So
Yeah,
this you just want to stack up wins, like I said. It's probably the Lions right now are like tier one, and then just got a bunch of other teams. But
true.
I'm with you. Let's see what happens the rest of the way. I do want to get to these comments. Give us your takeaways. Everybody that's in the comments right now, give us your takeaway from this win against the Ravens, and what would you like to continue to see improve? We got a lot of good comments on here. Gilbert, leading us off today is Happy Gilmore. He says, "Hola compas," and he says, "Sloppy on all three faces." So,
Yeah,
hey, we didn't start off negative here. It was Happy Gilmore who started with the negativity here, I guess.
good,
But
good. I like
yes,
it.
there was some sloppiness on all three faces. So I do agree with him. Like I said, sometimes you got to look at that defense and the way they perform. But I'm with you, Happy. I mean, there was some sloppy play on all three faces. Brian Smith says Dolak is raw. Reader looked decent today, and I have to say I got to give Reader credit. And I was ready to come on here and say, look, he forced a fumble on that punt return. But guess what? Dolak on the other side got he was called for a penalty there, so it negated the fumble there. So I guess you take a good and a bad there, but yeah, I mean, Dolak was on they used him. One of the things I did like about Dolak in this game though is that they used him as a pass rusher, like they used him on blitz packages, and so that allowed some of those sacks to come into this game. I thought some of the players benefited from rushing him on blitzes.
Yeah, honestly, finding ways to create turnovers or takeaways is key for this defense, because I think for the most part, I don't know the numbers to be exact here, but I know they haven't been like in the top uh side of getting takeaways. They're not really known for creating takeaways or interceptions. And there's times where they even go cold with sacks. Like, you gotta have game changing plays. You gotta have, like, if you're gonna build your team off of pass rushers, get a bunch of sacks, and then when you bring the pressure, it creates opportunities for takeaways. So I thought today that was great to have, because you're playing a team with the backup, and there's no Lamar Jackson, so you better create takeaways to smother teams, because we saw it a lot today. Like, even Jacoby Brissett hanging in there in Indianapolis for the Cardinals against the Colts. If you don't beat up on a team that's wounded right away, they're gonna hang around.
Yep.
We saw even the I know the Dolphins were at home, but even the Dolphins, they almost beat up the Chargers there at the end. You can't let teams hang around. So having takeaways like that definitely kills the confidence for teams that are not supposed to be in the game.
Yeah, and I thought the Baltimore came out with a good game plan. They wanted to control the clock with Derrick Henry. They were running the ball. I thought they were going to stick to it, but uh, you know, credit Chris Shula. He made some adjustments, and they were able to kind of take over in the second half. And it all started because, as Helpy Gilmore said, Landman did a great job today, and I thought he was huge in this game, especially in the second half. And And then he said that with that peanut punch too. Like I thought he might get called. I don't know if you saw the fumble, the replay of it, but there was kind of a face mask, and I'm like, oh man, I hope they don't call a face mask there because it was he scraped it before he punched. It was weird, or somebody scraped the what was his name? Say Flowers' mask, but luckily they didn't call it, and they let the play out, and it was called a fumble on there. So that was good. The Warm, who we haven't heard from in a while, it's good to have the Warm on here. Says glad the Rams came up with the W. Landman was a great acquisition. Got to shore up special teams ASAP. I hope Puka and Corum rebound for the next game.
Yeah, it was tough seeing both of those guys leave in the span of a few minutes, but it didn't seem like it was serious. But having to miss a game potentially, that's not good. But we'll talk about that as the week progresses.
Yeah, we'll see what the reports are especially I still want to know. I wish I would have I might I don't know if you can text Adam Grossman and see if they're going straight I would assume they're going straight from Baltimore. I don't know why you would come back to LA and then fly to London. So that would be my guess. So and then that's the other thing with ankle injuries. You can swell up, and then you got that long. I mean, it's a what, like a 6 7 hour flight. So that's the other thing you got to be concerned about the ankle swelling up for Puka.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Corum. That's kind of unfortunate that you have to take this trip now. But we'll see if he plays. It also they have the bye week after that, so they might hold him and just play it safe.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they find somewhere in the East Coast to practice for a few days and then catch the flight on Thursday or Friday to go to London. That way it's a short flight instead of a 10-hour flight. So yeah, we'll see what they announce. But I would not be shocked if that's the case. That way you stay in the States, you don't have to fly anywhere, and you let guys recover like Puka Nakua. I'm not saying they're gonna
Yeah.
hinge all their travel plans based on their star receiver having a swollen ankle, but I'm sure there was plans to stay at least in the States here before going overseas, or maybe they wanted to go straight. I doubt it. I know most teams just like to find a place somewhere on East Coast time and then eventually move over in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I saw the Broncos got there early and they got to enjoy they kind of went and did the tourist thing in London. So maybe because the Rams haven't been out there, they might head out early. But I don't know what the plans is. I
Yeah, and
didn't
I know
really
the
get a chance.
Cronkies have a lot invested in the
Oh yes,
UK with the soccer team, so maybe they want to be out there for a bunch of ambassador
I
stuff.
think they own the Liverpool, so I
Yeah.
think it's either Liverpool or Arsenal. I forget, but
Oh, I forget. It
yeah,
might be Arsenal, I think, and then
yeah,
Liverpool is like LeBron's group. I forget. I could be
yeah.
wrong.
But either way, they have a stadium out there that they can practice at. So,
That's true too. Yeah.
yep, we'll see what happens. Brian Smith says cheap shotting Fred Warner suffered a serious ankle injury from the sounds of it. So that's a big injury. You have the 49ers in a couple weeks as well, and they're trailing. I think they were trailing 14-10 last I checked.
14,
Uh,
13 now.
yeah, so maybe if the 49ers lose here, you have a three-way tie with the 49ers and the Seahawks, heading
Yeah,
to
that's
your
true.
London game next week. Quavo D says playing down to their competencies has to be coaching malpractice. So yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is, man. It's hard sometimes for it, some coaches to get everybody on board and just take care of business. But I'm with Quavo. Sometimes it's hard to I just feel like it's hard for a lot of these coaches to get all these players, especially when it's a 10 a.m. game. It's early. I know and McVay's record has been good on East Coast time, but man, like it's just hard, especially when you have a bunch of players that are hurt to get up for, and you got to create that juice, Gilbert.
Yeah, I don't want to excuse having a clunky first half where you're hanging around with Cooper Rush and a depleted Ravens team, but it's the NFL and things happen. And I think what I like to focus on is, you know, I know Puka Nakua's dealing with injury, but try to stay healthy, win a road game. Who cares about style points? Because we saw how they got burned by the 49ers at home with nobody playing. And they fell behind by 10 points. That wasn't the case. It was like a 3-3 game, or it was a field goal fest at first. So you're not playing catch up, but eventually you kind of the talent shows itself, and you start pulling away little by little. And I think that's better than being in a one score game like, oh crap, you might lose this one here. uh you mentioned it, Vic, the Eagles are going through their down stretch right now, losing 2 games in a row. I know the Lions are red hot, but they lost the first game of the year. They look pretty flat there. uh and the AFC, like we just saw the Jaguars lose in an ugly game. The Colts almost lost. The Bills we'll see on Monday night. We'll see the Chiefs have been terrible this year so far too. So like it's hard to be a dominant team week in and week out. So to me, I'm not trying to excuse it, but to me, if you come out with the W and you win by 10 points too, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think it was Pro Football Talk pointed this out, Gilbert. I don't know if you saw it, but every Super Bowl contender that was in prime time lost, I think, the last 5 games, which is crazy. I mean, you go back, like you said, the Bills, and then the Rams, just going, and then the Eagles were the last one. So we'll see what happens tonight. But I mean, I guess both of them are Super Bowl contenders. So we'll see what happens there. But it's been crazy. It's been a crazy last few weeks, Gilbert. Ever since you were like, where are these dogs? Why are we not getting the dogs? And I think injuries started to happen, and it just made everything balance the league now. And so you're seeing a lot of teams kind of going through it and trying to adjust with all the injuries. But let me get back to these, and then we'll get out of here. These comments. Happy Gilmore says Cardi needs to get his reps in. First field goal he missed. What the f? And then needs to kick with a sense of urgency. Let me ask you this. I know I wanted to be fast with this, but they keep bringing this up. He really wanted to be good at kicking off with the knuckleballs. Do you think that has kind of affected that? Or like they keep asking McVay and the coaching staff, and they said no, he's fine. It's not. It's more about the blocking. But now I'm kind of starting to think that it has to do with that, Gilbert.
It could. It's a good conversation. I did not blame him for the 49ers game. And even the Eagles game. I think there's just not good protection. You can't blame a kicker when you're not able to get the ball off when guys are getting in through very easily. Maybe if it's a thing where like his trajectory on the kick is too low and there's perfect protection. But there was a point where we couldn't even see if that was the case because there wasn't good protection. So uh today that was on him, the first one, and then he came back, he bounced back. So you also don't want it to be a mental thing. Like that's the worst part. Like yeah, maybe you could fix the way he's kicking, but if it's in his head and he's starting to blame himself for the poor protection, that's a whole set of problems right there. So I
Yeah.
think getting two more in, making an extra point, I think that's fine. I don't blame him besides that first kick because you can't do anything when the special teams can't block for you. So it's a fair question here. But yeah, let's try to keep this moving here for some
Yeah.
rapid fire.
Here we go. Brian Smith says the London Jaguars will be tough in London. They're definitely the home team. I'm surprised they didn't get 2 games this year, but that's just the way it is. It was the Vikings who got the 2 games in Europe. The Worm says the first half was whack for the Rams. I was shaking my head so much I got dizzy. Guys, straighten up our special teams and maybe get a quality free agent kicker. Get Mason Crosby or Robbie Gold.
Wow.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
guys
you're
are old.
starting to panic, Worm. I get it
The,
though.
yeah, Henry Camacho says hopefully Puka's okay, no injuries on the O line, so that's good. Landman had 17 tackles, nothing easy. I'll take the win any day. They're spending the week in Baltimore. It sounds like so.
Oh, okay.
There
There
you
you go.
go. Henry is ahead of us there with the information. The Worm says great to be hanging out with you guys again. It was awesome to hear from you. We've missed you here for a couple weeks. Quavo says you guys are right about the what we had to say about the coaching malpractice about just get a win, and that's all what really matters. And then Happy Gilmore says reps. He wants more reps. He wants to see uh uh Joshua Cardi get more reps. All right, Gilbert. I'm not gonna ask you what your final thoughts are. I just want to know who gets your 12 pack of beer of the game here as we close out the show.
Real quick, Worm, let me know if you're a Brewers fan. I know you're from Wisconsin. Maybe it's some rivalry here, Brewers and the Dodgers, NLCS. But let us know. 12 pack. I've kind of hinted about it earlier. I think it was good for Kyron Williams to have an impactful game. He got the butt cheek down on that catch there, I think before halftime, and I think they scored there.
It was a
It
third
wasn't like
quarter.
yeah, third quarter. It wasn't the most dynamic day, but he was pretty efficient. I know it wasn't a big rushing day, but contributing in the receiving game, contributing in the running game. I want to say he found the end zone there. The worm says Dodgers forever. Holmes, shout out to you. Good choice there. You're back in the right side there. And Victor's wearing the Dodger hat. But yeah, I think just to kind of break out of that funk where he had the multiple costly situations in the 49ers game to bounce back, I think is good. And he was back talking trash again. You want to have good vibes and be confident in yourself. So, Kyron, take a beer here.
Yeah, I like that one. And then, of course, I got to go with Lane Landman, setting a franchise record for tackles by a Rams player with 17, one forced fumble. He's been awesome. I thought he was the MVP in that second half, and the defense led the way in this game. So, have a 12 pack on us there. But that's it, Gilbert. Good post game show. There, like I said, they kind of slept. They slept walk through the first half, and then in the second half they came alive. So that was awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
Worm. We really appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you so
Appreciate it,
much.
Worm. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then Brian Smith says Cardi isn't going anywhere. He was drafted and had a good season last year.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he's
true.
just in his head right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just got to get him back mentally. All right, Gilbert. Good show. Good. We had good comments on here. We love, the passion here and everybody contributing. We like, having everybody let us know how they feel about it. And then the Worm says, appreciate you guys, go Rams. And so there
Yeah.
you go, Gilbert. Go ahead and get us out of here. And another win. And now it's going to be interesting. The Rams travel to London. As I said, they're taking on the Rams. We might have to do the post game show right around. Or it might be the earliest time we've done a post game show.
Yeah, we'll
So
see.
I'm looking forward to that
Yeah,
next Sunday.
it's gonna be a tough one. But yeah, let's get out of here. Worm, thank you for the donation there. That's gonna go to the Super Bowl fund. We go to Super Bowl Radio Row every year, so it's time to start mentioning that again because all that goes to that. It's not cheap going on the road and trying to build the show from the road. So that's gonna go a long way there. So thank you, Worm, getting that started. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Happy Quavo, everybody who commented here, Henry. We appreciate support here. So time to get going. Enjoy the victory. Enjoy the rest of the games. Actually, I hate double games on Monday night, but there actually might be intriguing games this time around. So enjoy Sunday Night Football. Enjoy the afternoon games. Time to get going. Ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.